My name is Owen Davies, and I am 24 years old, living a pretty quiet life here in Maple Creek, Ohio. It is a small town, the kind where everyone knows your name, and often your business too. I like it here, it is home, and I am an honest person, always have been. My days were usually spent working at the local hardware store, helping folks fix up their homes, and then coming back to my small apartment, maybe grabbing a beer with friends at the Rusty Nail down the street. My life felt steady, predictable even, but there was one part that had always been a little more complicated, a little less certain. My relationship with my ex-girlfriend, Cassandra. We had been together since high school, the kind of love story people around here expect you to have. Cassandra was different though. She was fiercely independent, and she joined the army right after graduation. We broke up when she left for basic training. The distance and the demands of her new life just became too much for us. But over the last few months, something had shifted. Cassandra was preparing for a deployment overseas, a big one, and she had started reaching out more and more. We were calling each other every night, sending long emails back and forth, and chatting online for hours. It was more than just friendly conversation. It felt like we were falling back into step, like we were dating again. She talked about coming home, about what we would do when she was back from deployment. My hopes were soaring. I was picturing a future with her again, a future that suddenly seemed within reach. It was a wonderful, hopeful feeling to think that after all this time, we could rekindle what we had. Then came the day of her deployment. It was bittersweet, knowing she was leaving but also believing that this was just a temporary hurdle before we could truly be together again. I decided to stop by the house she shared with her mom, just to leave a small gift and a note on the porch for her mom. We were on semi-good terms, considering everything. I pulled into the driveway, got out of my truck, and noticed a car I did not recognize parked there. It was a new model, sleek and black, definitely not something I had seen before at their place. They had renters in a separate part of the house sometimes, so I did not think much of it at the moment. I left the package and drove away, a hopeful ache in my chest. A couple of days later, the postman delivered a letter to my door. It was from Cassandra's mom. I opened it, expecting a thank you note, or at least something neutral. What I read instead turned my stomach cold and sent a shockwave through me. The letter was absolutely furious. She accused me of trying to cause problems for her son, excuse me, for her daughter and her new husband, excuse me, her new wife. That is how I found out. Through a nasty, hateful letter from Cassandra's own mother, telling me Cassandra was married. Married. My mind reeled. She also called me a manipulative liar and a home wrecker for sleeping with her daughter before marriage, implying I was trying to ruin Cassandra's new life. The irony of it all was thick and bitter. I knew for a fact Cassandra's mom had a shotgun wedding herself. She was already pregnant with Cassandra when she got married. And now she was judging me. My head was spinning. I had no idea Cassandra was even seeing someone else, let alone engaged or married. All those calls, all those emails, all those late-night chats where she talked about us, it was all a lie. I felt like a fool, utterly betrayed and humiliated. The problem I had to solve was not just my own pain, but the injustice of the situation. Cassandra had strung me along, her mother had insulted me, and they were living a lie. My nemesis had appeared, or rather, nemesis and co-conspirator. The sting of that letter, the sheer audacity of her mom to accuse me of something I was completely ignorant of, it festered inside me. It was not just the betrayal from Cassandra, it was the added insult from her mother that pushed me over the edge. I had been making efforts to understand what went wrong, replaying conversations in my head, trying to make sense of her sudden silence after her deployment. But now, all those efforts to rationalize her behavior were gone. There was nothing to rationalize, only a blatant lie. The original problem of her deception began to grow bigger and more serious in my mind. The casual kindness I had always shown her family, the respect I had for Cassandra's commitment to the military, all of it felt mocked, trampled on. I thought about the new car I had seen in their driveway. A cold, hard certainty began to set in. This problem was not just about me and Cassandra anymore. It was about a whole family living in a carefully constructed web of lies. I decided that if they did not know the truth of what Cassandra had been doing, they should. I knew it would be a huge undertaking, but I felt a burning need for justice, for truth to come out. I sat down at my computer, a grim determination settling over me. I started printing out everything, every single message we had exchanged, every email, every text. I even pulled up my phone records, highlighting the dates and times of our calls. It was a thick stack of papers, irrefutable proof of her deception. Each page I printed felt like another nail in the coffin of my trust. Despite all the progress I had made in gathering my evidence, a new wave of hopelessness washed over me. What if this was all for nothing? What if they just dismissed it? The low point truly came when I realized the depth of her deceit and how easily I had been played. I had been so convinced we were heading towards reconciliation. The thought of her getting married while still talking to me, planning a future with me, was a gut punch. It made me question my own judgment, my own worth. All my efforts to simply get answers had led me to this overwhelming wall of lies. I was certain that all my hopes for a revived relationship, all the kindness I had extended to her family, had been wasted on people who did not deserve it. I drove by her mom's house again. That unfamiliar car was still in the driveway. This time, as I slowly drove past, my eyes caught something on the back window. Scrawled in white marker were the words, "Just married, congrats, name and name." My breath hitched. Not only had she just gotten married, but it turns out her new wife was actually living at her mom's place. It was a bitter, painful irony. The woman who had accused me of being a home wrecker was now hosting her daughter's new wife, who was unknowingly living under the same roof as the evidence of her new spouse's infidelity. This detail, the fact that Cassandra's mom would have to live in the chaos she helped create by blindly supporting her daughter and then insulting me, solidified my resolve. All was not lost in terms of my revenge. This was perfect. My despair turned into a cold, calculated fury. With my plan solidifying, I felt a new surge of resolve. This was my final attempt to solve the problem, to bring the truth to light. I had to dig deep to find that last bit of strength and courage. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady as I prepared the letters. I did not have Cassandra's wife's full name, but I knew I could address it clearly enough. I decided I would mail them to Cassandra's mom's house. I printed out all of our messages, emails, texts, and phone records. The stack of evidence was undeniable. I meticulously organized it, making sure it was clear and easy to follow. I wrote the first letter to Cassandra's new wife. I laid it all out, every single detail of what Cassandra had been doing behind her back, the dates, the times, the promises she had made to me. I included all the receipts, every single piece of proof I had gathered. I imagined her face as she read it, the dawning horror. Then I wrote the second letter, this one addressed to Cassandra's lovely mother. In it, I told her that during all the months I was talking to her daughter, not once did Cassandra ever mention having a wife. I reminded her of her own shotgun wedding, since she seemed to have a selective memory when it came to judging others. I ended the letter by letting her know that Cassandra's wife now had a full, detailed account of what her daughter had been up to behind her back. I wanted to make sure they got the letters directly, so I sent both of them with a required signature, just to be sure they would be opened right away. No excuses. As I sealed the envelopes, I felt a sense of power I had not had in months. The last message I sent was to my ex-girlfriend, Cassandra. It was a single line in an email, simple and chilling. "You are dead to me." I wanted her to sweat, to wonder what I knew and what I was going to do, even though she was already deployed and far away. This was back before email security got stricter, and I still had access to Cassandra's email account because she had used my laptop before, never bothering to sign out. Over the next day or so, I logged in, checking her inbox. Sure enough, the emails started rolling in. The first one was from her wife. The subject line alone was enough to tell the story. I opened it. She was tearing into Cassandra, absolutely furious. My carefully collected phone records had done their job. The wife mentioned how Cassandra had left to get ice during their honeymoon only to call me. My chest swelled with a grim satisfaction. She knew. The truth was out. Then I saw another email, this one from Cassandra's mom. She was ripping her daughter a new one too, complaining bitterly about having to deal with this massive mess under her own roof. She wrote that Cassandra's wife was crying and completely beside herself, devastated that her new wife had cheated. It was a chef's kiss moment, truly glorious. Since Cassandra had already deployed, there was nothing she could do but sit with it, completely helpless, thousands of miles away. I watched, fascinated, as she tried to scramble to explain herself, sending email after email filled with desperate excuses and apologies. It went on for months, her trying to make it better, trying to salvage whatever was left of her life back home. Each frantic email she sent, each failed attempt to control the chaos, was a victory for me. I do not know if they ever got divorced, but honestly, I would not be surprised at all. I no longer feel the pain, only a quiet satisfaction knowing that I got my front row seat to the entire glorious shit show. My life in Maple Creek continues, peaceful and honest, knowing that I finally got the justice I deserved. I found a new sense of peace, knowing that Cassandra had to face the consequences of her actions. It was not the kind of ending I had ever imagined, but it was exactly what needed to happen. And sometimes, even now when I need a good laugh, I still check that email account just to see if the drama is still unfolding. It rarely disappoints.